based on sexual orientation. So, like, that is a significant portion of Republicans. Of course, all 83% Democrats, 11% of Democrats. I don't know. That's very strange to me. 11% of Democrats think, who in their right mind can think it's okay for that? It's kind of crazy. But 14% of Democrats think it's okay to fire someone for being transgender. Wow. It's just like, very, very, I don't know. And it really is interesting. The fact that what they did, what Neil Gorsuch did was he looked at this bill that was passed by the Civil Rights Act of 1965 or whatever, and was like, they weren't thinking of gay people at the time, but they meant kind of all people. Like, nobody, they weren't thinking that wasn't even part of an issue at the time, but they wanted, this was a bill with the intent of the bill was to stop discrimination at all costs. And that was what the opinion of very conservative Neil Gorsuch was. So that is in no way insignificant. Coming up next, we will be giving you an important reminder. That is after this. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for listening to programming from the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. It really means a lot. So if you like what you're hearing, please consider supporting us by checking out our merch store available on Spreaker.com/TSWS. The link for it is there. Also, if you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on wherever or however you listen. You can do it on Spreaker by leaving a positive comment, and of course on iTunes by rating and reviewing us 5 stars, and on whatever possible program or site that you listen to SWRN on, leave a nice review, leave a good comment, let us know your feedback, and also if it's negative too, I always welcome constructive feedback. Thank you so much for listening, and now let's get back to your show. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we are pleased to welcome you right on back here into the show today. We are talking, of course, a lot about the Supreme Court. So I really don't think it's ever fun to talk about the Supreme Court. I just don't like it. I don't know, something weird about the Supreme Court. I just don't like talking about it. I feel like nothing ever good happens with this. Like, it's like, I don't know, nothing good ever happens at a party after 10 a.m. Nothing fun ever happens with the Supreme Court. Like, we're either like talking about some but this is a good thing, but mostly I feel like it's like, oh, we have to say to Supreme Court, like the Citizens United, gutting the Voting Rights Act. But I mean, it's a whole bunch of key things the Supreme Court does that are just not fun. And the last 2 confirmations, which is a big part of Supreme Court news, have not been fun either. But it has been a pretty good week for unexpected victories at the Supreme Court. That's really quite fair to say, I think. So Donald Trump's 2 appointments, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, have largely failed to deliver results despite the right's deepening hold over the judiciary. And I think it's obviously nice to see. We love to see it. Like, who would not love to see it? But you cannot say it's not going to last here. On Monday, Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion in a landmark 6-3 decision, which found the Civil Rights Act applied to LGBTQ people in places of workplace discrimination. He and Chief Justice John Roberts sided with the court's liberals. Kavanaugh, perhaps the purest representation of Trump's own id on the court, dissented. Today, the court followed with another narrower rebuttal of Trump's policies, shooting down the administration's attempt to end the Obama-era DACA program. And this decision split 5-4 largely along ideological lines. Both Gorsuch and Kavanaugh voted the way they're supposed to. This time, it was only Roberts that took the lonely stand of swinging the court in favor of the outnumbered liberal. So, obviously, Roberts now is kind of the only swing vote left after, quote-unquote, Kennedy was. I mean, he was in some cases, but not all the time. He was considered a conservative who kind of could go some ways from one way to another. Donald Trump, as we know, he is furious. The framing of the freakout was explicitly, literally in firearms-related terms. It's also a direct shot at Roberts, who, again, was one of the deciding forces of the court's refusal to hear a slate of gun rights cases this week. Pro-Second Amendment types have been hoping that one of the cases would be the precedent to overturn some gun laws. But despite backing the majority opinion in D.C. versus Heller, Roberts' vote on gun control does not appear to be a lock for either side. Both wings seem to have decided to stay out of that fight for now. What this adds up to is fertile ground for liberals to do the kind of stuff that they always are desperate to do, which is hero worship a respectable conservative. Oh, that is just so annoying. It's Mitt Romney, John McCain. Just stop with that, please. Please stop. This kind of hero worship stuff is also the reason why Meghan McCain has a career. It's hugely important that we do not do this to John Roberts. John Roberts is not our friend, folks. Liberals out there, MSNBC types who may listen to the show. We do not support John Roberts. We do not stand, folks. We do not stand John Roberts. It is hugely important that we do not do this to Roberts. With Anthony Kennedy's departure and the hard-right additions of Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, Roberts finds himself in a unique position. He's both the court's swing vote and, as Chief Justice, its public face. So in these decisions, he is playing the long game, preserving what he sees as the integrity of the court, while kicking the can down the road to do the same fascism that Trump wants, but in a more thorough, intelligent, and legally sound manner. So yeah, folks, John Roberts, I think it's very, very important to say, not the guy who's going to be out there fighting for you in a situation like this. It is very, very important to remember. Roberts is saying he does not particularly care one way or another if children brought to the United States. And this is, of course, in this part of this dissent here. He writes, but as lower courts had found, Roberts said the administration did not follow the procedures required by law and did not properly weigh how ending the program would affect those who had come to rely on protections against deportation and the ability to work legally. We did not decide whether DACA or its restrictions are sound policies, Roberts wrote. So, yeah, he was not deciding that here. He was not taking a brave stand in favor of the Dreamers. He was just saying the Trump administration was just too stupid. So, what if they're not too stupid? How's that going to work out? I think that's a very important thing. So, folks, please keep an eye out for John Roberts. We are talking Democratic primaries next. Join us on Tuesday, June 23rd at 8:30 p.m. for live coverage of the 2020 election. It's primary night in New York and Kentucky. In New York, 14th, insurgent-turned-Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez looks to hold back their well-funded primary challenger, Michelle Caruso Cabrera. Up north, in the Bronx and Westchester, Jamal Bowman, a DSA-endorsed black middle school principal, takes on the Congressional Black Caucus-endorsed white Jewish man Elliot Engel at a 30-year representative and head of the Foreign Affairs Committee. In New York 17th, can Warren and Bernie endorse Mondale Jones, a former Obama DOJ lawyer, claim retiring Nita Lowey's seat for the Progressives, and finally in the fight to be the Democrat to take on Mitch McConnell, can fiery State Rep Charles Booker defeat Schumer, favorite pro-Trump Democrat Amy McGrath? Find out Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. It's primary night on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. We did plan on having some music there, but that did not go as planned, unfortunately. You know what, actually? I think maybe we could just do that right now. And that is just, not seeming to be working, unfortunately, at the moment. Technical difficulties. So, you know what, actually? We will be able to do a third take. Just keep listening. It's the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, want to take a moment to let you know about what we have. This wonderful beat is, as you can hear, has been being produced by Tyler, the Creator. We're going to be talking about him this week on That's Interesting, talking to Zach Lifschultz about what has been going on lately in terms of Tyler, the Creator, Flower Boy versus Igor, which is better, and just kind of, I'm going to be honest, it devolves into a broader conversation about music these days and just what's been going on with that. But we do talk a lot of Tyler it's a Tyler-focused conversation with me and Zach Lifschultz. Tune in Friday. That's Interesting. Subscribe. Yeah, so we want to just get that out of the way there, though our music was quite working. It's time to talk about the primaries, folks. We already have a Republican Party right now. I don't know if you knew that. And Kentucky already has a Republican senator up for re-election in November. Not just any Republican senator either. Mitch McConnell, the best investment the Chamber of Commerce has ever made. A man who is so integral to what conservative movement has won and what has become in the last decade that, and yet is so deeply loathsome that even people who agree with him can't stand him. He is someone who, in terms, like, of all people, like, if you ask, for example, my dad about him, you do not want to know. You see the look on his face, and it's just like pure venom. But what Democratic leader Chuck Schumer thought in February 2019 was, with all this information, knowing that his base absolutely hates Mitch McConnell, what if they had another Republican to run against? Just as in 2013-14, when they ran Allison Lundergan Grimes, the Democrats saw McConnell's underwater popularity in Kentucky and a recent history of electing a Democratic governor and thought, why not take a shot? Unlike in 2014, however, Chuck Schumer is running the Senate Democrats and has taken a large role in Senate recruiting, which is bad news. Harry Reid, by the way, much cooler. So far, Schumer is getting bailed out by President Donald Trump's deep unpopularity and Joe Biden's lead in the polls. If the election were held today, the Democrats would be a good bet to pick up the Senate majority. But that doesn't mean that Schumer and the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee's effort across the country hasn't been woeful. In North Carolina, Schumer struck out in recruiting Attorney General Josh Stein and Charlotte area State Senator Jeff Jackson, so he landed on Cal Cunningham, the man who served exactly one term as a state senator during the Bush administration and who was then recruited to run for, you guessed it, U.S. Senate, only to be beaten by Secretary of State Elaine Marshall. He won this time and now is running neck and neck in a very unlikely situation that probably would not happen in any kind of normal year, although who knows what normal is now. Was running neck and neck with Republican there, Tom Tillis. In Colorado, Schumer aggressively recruited John Hickenlooper as he was flopping around like a dead fish during the presidential primary debates and getting outshined by such bright lights as John Delaney, then got his wish when Hickenlooper jumped into a crowded field that's been whittled to him and liberal former State House Speaker Andrew Romanoff for the chance to face Cory Gardner. Now it appears that no one even bothered to vet Hickenlooper because, I mean, I guess he's fine. He made a comment about Asian slave ships and has an ethics violation. He said, so these are pretty much the two controversies. One, an independent ethics commission in Colorado said Hickenlooper violated the state law on gifts when he was governor in 2018 by accepting rides on private jets and separately a Maserati limousine. He also appeared to compare a job as a political scheduler to the slave trade in 2014, comments that were unearthed Monday. Jesus. His campaign immediately apologized for them. Imagine an ancient slave ship, he said, with the guy with the whip, and you're rowing. We elected officials are the ones that are rowing. So yeah, very, very chill guy, John Hickenlooper. In Kansas, Schumer and the DSCC, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, recruited and endorsed Barbara Bollier, a state legislator who describes herself as a fiscal conservative, which makes sense because she was Republican until 2018. 2018! And they're running her in a Democratic primary. What the hell? Yeah, there's also plenty of blame to go around here, to be fair. Including governor, because the entire Democratic establishment, including Kansas Democratic establishment, the governor of the state, Laura Kelly, and former HHS Secretary Catherine Sebelius got behind Boiler pretty early on, so they kind of didn't really think that one through either. In Colorado and North Carolina, at least, Democrats might win anyway because Trump's deeply unpopular and the incumbents are much more right-wing than the states they represent. But it is hardly a testament to Schumer's brilliance that he might benefit from the unholy trifecta of a pandemic, economic depression, and mass insurrection. I mean, we do like the insurrection around here on Smith's Welsh Radio Network. Nowhere has Schumer's own bed-shitting been more clear than in Kentucky, where he recruited Amy McGrath, a former Marine fighter pilot who has been comfortably beaten in a swing house race by Republican backbencher Andy Barr. McGrath is like a parody of a Democratic swing candidate, really